Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with a bit of a get ready with me. I'm gonna do a palette bingo with my Panda palette. This year I am panning the Nikkie Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette, and as you know there are a lot of colorful shades in here. There's a few kind of neutral shades as well, but this is what the palette looks like. And I thought it'd be fun to do a palette bingo because this palette is so colorful. So I'm gonna do that today. I think what I'm going to do is randomize 4 or 5 shades to use in the look. We'll see how it goes when I randomize, but that's my plan. So I'm just going to do an eye look with you from this palette. I think it's going to be fun again because I feel like I could get literally any combination. So I'm going to go ahead and randomize the numbers, but before I jump into that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So there are 20 shades in the palette, so I picked 1 to 20 in my randomizer, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick the first number. So that is going to be number 5. So number 5 is actually quite a boring one. It's a brown, so it's the top right shade right here. This palette is so hard to hold, but it's this shade right here, which I believe is called 5 AM, right? Yes, 5 AM. So that is going to be the first shade I am going to use. And there you have 5 AM. So let me go ahead and pick the second number, and we're going to get 2. Okay, 2 is actually one that has been my focus shadow from this past month, and that is the shade Blend and Snap right here. So that's going to be the second shade I'm going to use. And there you have Blend and Snap, is that pink shade right there. So we have 2 mattes so far. Let's go ahead and pick the third number, and that is going to be number 6. Okay, so number 6 is the first shadow on the second row, and we have our first shimmer, and that is the shade here called Roxy Catan. And that is going to be the next one I'm going to use. And there we have Roxy Catan. It works really well with the pink. I haven't used it together before actually, so that's going to be quite exciting. But yeah, that is the third shadow. Let me go ahead and pick the fourth one, but for now I think I might go for 5. We'll see what I get for the fourth one. So let's randomize, and we get number 19. I think number 19 is the shade Amsterdam. And yes, it is. It's the second last shadow in the palette, and it's this blue shade right here, which actually matches my jumper quite a bit. So that is going to be the fourth shadow, and it is another matte. So there we have Amsterdam. Again, it really does match my jumper. The question is then, should we stop with these 4 or should I roll a 5th eyeshadow? I think I'm going to roll a 5th one. I'm being a bit more kind of, I guess, ballsy today because I might get something completely random, but we'll see what I get. I'm going to put a 5th shade in, and we're going to get number 20, which is the last shadow in the palette, and that is also more of a neutral shadow. It is the shadow right here called Mr. Tutorials. So that is the last shadow. Not sure how much that goes with the color story, but we're gonna go with it anyway. We basically have 2 neutrals and 3 colors, but that is the color story that I'm going to work with. I'm going to have a little bit of a think to see what I want to do with these shadows, and I will be right back. So I have primed my eyelids, and I'm going to start by using 5 AM, which is that top brown shade. I'm going to start by using that one. I'm going in on a wet base, by the way. I just blended out the primer that I'm using, and I'm just going to go ahead and start packing this on. So I'm going to start by using this in the outer corner, going up in the crease. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the look. I had kind of an idea of what to do before I rolled that last shadow in. However, initially it threw me off a little bit. However, I think it's going to work. I'm just going to have to like switch things around a little bit. So I was originally going to plan to put this more kind of like the inner half like blended out. But I think this might actually work better. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but this is the first shadow, which is again 5 AM and that dark brown. So I'm going to place it down first. This is how I usually do my makeup. I place the pigment down first, just packing it on. This is actually one of my favorite brushes to use for it. This is especially for out the corner kind of shadows like this. This is the Luxe Petite Crease Brush from Zoeva. I really like this one, and I just like pack it on like this. I was thinking if I should use other shadows in the palette too, because if so I will blend this out with Mila, but maybe I'll just try to blend it out as it is. I might use a little bit of Basic Trust, which is the beige shade in the palette, just to try to, if it gets too messy, just use that to, what's it called, to kind of clean everything up. I might use that, but this is just a Refer 14 brush. I might have a little bit of residue on it of like a brown shade, but I wiped off my hand first, so I think it's mainly just the shadow that I used to use, the 5am shadow, just blending that out. So I'm gonna continue blending this, and you can see it blends out pretty nicely actually. I haven't used this one in the crease before, but it's blending out pretty nice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend this out until I'm happy with it, and I'm gonna move on to the next shade, shadow. And there we are. I'm gonna just deepen up a little bit in the very crease, because I feel like I need to. And I think that looks good, and just blend that edge a tiny bit. And then we're happy with the first shadow. So that is again 5am, and that's the top shadow used. I'm actually gonna go straight into the next shadow, which is the pink one. And for this one, I'm gonna use a kind of fluffier little crease brush. This is actually from Cleona, and I can't remember what this one is called. It doesn't say on it, but I think it's like some sort of crease brush. It's very, very tiny. But I'm gonna place this pink one, focus it on my inner part of my lid right here. So I'm gonna blend it and then slowly blend it into that other shadow, but keep it quite pigmented as much as I can. And yeah, just keep going until I'm happy with the result. I'm taking this quite high so you can still see it. And I think that's good, and do the same on the other eye. So this is one of those moments where I feel like I took it a little bit too far on this eye, because it goes all the way up to my eyebrow on that eye. So I'm gonna use that basic trust shade just on a fluffy brush, just to blend that out a little bit, because I don't want it that high. So this is kind of how I use base shades. I used to use it kind of as an eraser. That's better. So I'm just gonna build up the pigment a tiny bit on this pink shadow, again just to keep it vibrant, because I like vibrant looks. And I feel like that's kind of like how I do these super pigmented looks, is just like I build the pigment. So I think that's good right there. Then I might look a little bit crazy. This is my mattes done mainly. I have the blue left, but I'm going to use it on my lower lash line. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to apply my glitter glue, which I'm using the Too Faced one. I'm currently panning this one. I also prime my eyes with the primer that I'm currently panning, which is Pillowy Space. But I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of this primer, or the glitter glue, sorry, and I'm going to place it on my lid, and I will move on to shimmers. So I apply that mainly all over my lid. I just left the very, very outside of that brown bare. So that's basically the glitter primer. So I'm going to move on to shimmers next. And as you might guess, I'm going to use this brown on the outer corner and this pink on the inner corner. So I'm going to start with the pink, and I'm using this shadow brush again from Cleona, and I'm going to pack this on the inner part of my lid, basically where the pink is. I also like with my shimmers, especially in the inner part of my lid, like right there, to just blend it up in the crease shadow a little bit, just to give a little bit extra sparkle. So that's what I'm going to do. So just like patting the residue up there, not like full impact, but like just whatever's left on the brush. And I'm probably going to take this about 2/3 of the way, like so. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to flip the brush over and move into Mr. Tutorials, which is the browner kind of green shade, and I'm going to pack that on out here on top of that brown. And I'm also going to kind of tap over the very part where the green and pink meets, and just to start blending those two shades. And then again I'm just going to take the pink and just again blend that, so I don't lose the pink shadow in the transition. So right where those two meets, and I think that's good. I'm pretty happy with that transition. What I'm gonna do is, I feel like the brown on the outer corner is not intense enough, so I'm gonna deepen that up a little bit. I think it doesn't match the intensity of the inner part of my lid. So I'm just gonna build that up a little bit and maybe take it slightly higher into the crease. And again, I'm used to using that packing brush that I used first. So you can see that's a little bit higher now, and then it's time to blend it again. And with that, is that blended enough? I feel like it is. I think think it's pretty blended now. It always looks crazy before I get my lashes done. But that is basically where I'm going to leave the top lid. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup and come back, and then we just have that blue shadow left, which I'm going to use on my lower lash line. It's going to be quite an intense lower lash line, but I think that's what's best. Otherwise, I think the only way I could do it is use as a liner. But I don't want to ruin the look, not to ruin, but I don't feel like I really like the look the way it is with the pink and the brown. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, finish up my makeup, and I will do the lower lash line. Okay, so I'm back, and I've done my base and my lips and everything. So I'm really loving this look. I would love to pair these two together again. I really like it. I now have to incorporate the blue, and this is where we're going to go a little bit out of my comfort zone, because I normally don't do very deep lower lash lines or colorful lower lash lines, but I feel like that's the best way to include that blue. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with a brush. It's easy if I'm trying to look at all of my brushes to see what I want to use, but let me find a brush and I will start blending that out, or like put it on my lower lash line basically. So I'm just using this brush. So I know this might not be the ideal brush, because I'm going to use a tiny bit up on the tip, and I'm going to use the rest of the brush to blend. Hopefully that will work. But I have a tiny amount of this because this blue is super pigmented, and I'm going to put this on. I'm going to try to show you. It's really hard to have my mirror up and show you guys, and apply it to my lower lash line. So I'm going to try to do that and, yeah, take it from there. Okay, actually works pretty well. The other eye I'm gonna just do it off camera, because this is what happened. I'm just gonna blend it out like that on the side too, and see if I want to build it up or not. So there we are. I have applied it a tiny bit on my lower lash line, like literally a tiny bit. I dipped the brush in like very gently, because this eyeshadow is very pigmented, and then I just gently apply that on my lower lash line, very again gently, and then blend it out with the rest of the brush. And I think I quite like that. It's more subtle. You could build up more pigmented if you wanted to, but I just like the way the look looks without building up too much. But yeah, you could definitely build that up quite a bit more, but I think this suits me better. So I'm gonna zoom out, and this is basically the final look. So there you guys, you have the final look. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I just showed you the close-up, but this is here more far away. I didn't put lashes or anything on in this video, because it's honestly, you can see the time, this is after work. I just did my makeup because I didn't do my makeup this morning for work, so I thought, why not film this today? Also, it needs to go up this week, so I thought I would pre-film when I had the chance. So this is what the look I created with these eyeshadows. You kind of can see a bit more how I do my eyeshadow normally, like how I build up the pigment and then blend it out. I got some questions recently to do more get ready with me, so I'm hoping this one is helpful. If you want more, let me know. Sometimes it's hard for me to do get ready with me, because the way I do my makeup is usually facing that mirror right here, and then in this cabinet here I have my makeup. You can see like it's in there. So yeah, it's hard for me to do it this way because I don't really have a table in front of me. I'm using a chair now to put my brushes and my palette on, but other than that, like, it's just harder to film. Also, it's like such a long video to film normally, so I need a lot of designated time to film on. But if you want to see it, let me know and I'll try to do it more. Also, if you like have any sort of requests, like if you want me to do like a Q&A get ready with me, or just like life updates or anything like that, or just, you know, tutorials almost. Although I don't know, I never watch tutorials anymore really, unless I'm doing like something very specific, like 70s makeup or something like that. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video anyway and got a bit of more insight into my makeup again, like I said. Oh, lastly, I thought as well of another question I also got recently about what kind of eyeshadow primer or base that I use for biggest impact. Today, like I said, I used the P. base. I have it behind me. I was going to grab it, but it's behind me in the drawer. It's the one I'm panning. It's more like a skin tone kind of color. It's more like my skin tone, maybe like 1 or 2 shades lighter. But I used that one and I pat it on my fingers, and then I used to use a brush to blend it out. And I find that easier, and I find that works fine. The biggest thing I would say, I mean, it's not my favorite primer, I mentioned that before, but the biggest thing I would say is to not set your eye primer. That would probably be the biggest impact, to get colorful looks and to get like bright vibrant colors. And you can see today, I would say my look is pretty blended, and I didn't spend too long blending it either. And you can see it blends really well even though I didn't set my eyes. So that's my biggest tip, I would say, for getting colorful looks on bases. And again, I haven't found my perfect primer, so I can't really recommend any specific one. The Lovelies is good, but it's not my favorite, so I wouldn't recommend it really. But that is basically my tips. So that is also it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and otherwise I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.